The playful mood vanished instantly. Screeches of panic filled the air as the monkeys scattered in all directions. Some climbed high into the canopy, while others leapt desperately from branch to branch. But the bees were relentless, chasing them with venomous stings. A mother monkey tried to shield her baby, wrapping it tightly in her arms as she fled, but the swarm surrounded them, leaving the helpless pair crying in fear. Nearby, forest rangers on patrol heard the chaos. Realizing the danger, they rushed toward the scene. Armed with smoke canisters and protective gear, they worked quickly to calm the furious bees. The rescuers released controlled smoke near the hive, forcing the swarm to retreat back inside. Then, carefully, they guided the terrified monkeys away from the danger zone. Some monkeys had collapsed from exhaustion and multiple stings. The rescue team acted fast, treating their wounds with soothing ointments and giving them water. The mother and baby, though shaken, were gently lifted to safety. Slowly, the troop of monkeys began to calm down, huddling together under the watchful eyes of the rescuers. In the end, the forest returned to its natural calm. The hive was secured, the monkeys were safe, and the rescuers once again proved their courage and compassion. It was a powerful reminder that in the wild, even a playful mistake can turn into a life-threatening situation, but with bravery and teamwork, lives can be saved. The forest was alive with echoes of chaos. The sharp cries of monkeys, normally filled with mischief and playful tones, now trembled with fear and pain. The furious swarm of bees spiraled out of their hive in black clouds, stinging at anything that moved. What had begun as an innocent game among the young monkeys quickly transformed into a nightmare that threatened the entire troop. High above in the canopy, monkeys leapt in every direction, their sleek bodies darting like shadows through the leaves. But no matter how fast they moved, the swarm followed. A mother clutched her infant tightly to her chest, her eyes wide with terror as she leapt from one branch to another, hoping to escape the relentless attackers. The baby's tiny cries blended with the chaos, making the moment even more heart-wrenching. Down below, forest rangers who had been patrolling the area stopped in their tracks. The sound of screaming monkeys and the buzzing roar of bees quickly drew their attention. One of the rangers raised his binoculars and spotted the troop in distress. Without hesitation, the team rushed forward. They knew exactly what had happened. The monkeys had disturbed a hive, and the bees were simply defending their home. But to the vulnerable primates, the sting of every bee was life-threatening. The rangers quickly formulated a plan. Two of them carried smoke canisters in their rescue kits, tools designed for exactly this kind of emergency. Smoke, if released carefully, could calm bees and force them back into their hive. But getting close enough to deploy the smoke was a risk in itself. The swarm was aggressive, and even with protective gear, the rescuers would face danger. One ranger, Hamza, volunteered to step forward. Covered in thick protective clothing, he carried a smoking torch and advanced toward the tree where the hive was hidden. The buzzing grew louder as the bees swirled angrily around him, but he stood firm. He released steady puffs of smoke, waving the torch in slow, deliberate motions. The effect wasn't immediate, but slowly the bees began to retreat, their frenzied attack weakening as they were lured back to the hive. Meanwhile, the rest of the team turned their attention to the monkeys. Some of the troop had managed to scramble high enough to escape the worst of the swarm, but others weren't as lucky. A few were clinging to branches, their bodies trembling, their faces swollen from multiple stings. One young male monkey had collapsed entirely, his small body barely moving. The rescuers acted quickly. Using nets and ropes, they carefully approached the injured monkeys, ensuring they weren't attacked by any lingering bees. With gentle hands, they lifted the weakest ones and placed them into safety crates lined with cloth. The mother with the baby was the hardest to calm. Terrified, she bared her teeth at the rescuers, unsure if these humans were friends or another threat. But her cries softened when she realized they were helping. Slowly, the ranger extended a hand, offering her a piece of fruit. She hesitated, then, still clutching her baby, allowed herself to be guided down. Once the immediate danger had passed, the rescue team set up a temporary care station under the shade of a large tree. The injured monkeys were treated one by one. The rangers carried ointments and herbal sprays in their medical kits, specially prepared for wildlife emergencies. With practiced care, they applied soothing balms to swollen wounds and rinsed the monkeys' eyes and mouths with clean water. The baby monkey, barely able to stop crying, nestled against its mother's chest. The rangers handed the mother slices of banana and papaya, hoping to comfort her. Though still anxious, her breathing slowed, and the baby finally began to relax in her arms. One of the rangers, Adil, examined the young male who had collapsed earlier. His tiny body had endured several stings, and his breathing was weak. Adil gently wrapped the monkey in a soft cloth, whispering soothing words as though the creature could understand. With careful effort, he administered fluids using a small dropper. Minutes passed in tense silence, until finally the monkey's chest rose with steadier breaths. Relief swept through the group. The little one was alive. The rescue
Flowers like that one chain belt. We'll wait for and stuff.